Hey there, it's Austin Bach, and today we're checking out the Modern Cube here on Magic Online. Still a couple weeks out from the release of Ixalan Online, so we're in spoiler season right now, so gonna have to wait a little bit before we can start playing some Standard, but rest assured we will be doing that eventually. For now, we're gonna play this cube, which I actually enjoyed the last iteration of. Last time it was around a few months ago. Here we're looking at an Ugin the Spirit Dragon, which is a excellent top-end finisher that goes into any deck. You can play it in green ramp, you can play it in slower control decks. Can't really play it in aggro, but I don't really like drafting aggro anyway. I don't think it's that good in this cube regardless. So I think I'm going to take it here. Next best card probably Coalition Relic. Then there's some like Mana Dorks and some, medium cards, but I think Ugin's a pretty clear pickup here. Go pretty much any direction from there. What do we want to do now? We could take another Planeswalker like Chandra. Planeswalkers are very strong in this cube, I think. I do think it is still possible to just take every Planeswalker and, go as many colors as you can fit into your deck and go from there, because Planeswalkers are so hard to answer. And this pack's pretty weak anyway. There's like a Verdant Catacombs, which I could speculate on, or an Arid Mesa, or like Eternal Witness, and some other stuff. So I'm just going to take the Planeswalker, banking on the assumption that, not having studied too in depth the changes from the last Modern Cube, but I still think Planeswalkers are pretty good. Let's go ahead and turn my audio down a little bit if we can. I like Birds of Paradise. I do tend to go for green ramp strategies in every cube I can get my hands on, but I do think it's still a good strategy in this cube. Even if you're not strictly ramp, Birds of Paradise is just good to start casting your mid-range spells early. Or we could take Sweltering Suns, which goes decently well with the Chandra. We could play like a control deck and just play Planeswalkers and Sweepers or something like that. But I think Birds of Paradise is just gonna be better most of the time. Sweltering Suns, we might even end up with a red deck where we don't want Sweltering Suns. But I can't envision a green deck that doesn't want Birds of Paradise. Scalding Torrents are also notable. Probably might even take that over Sweltering Suns, but I'm still going to take the bird and just go from there. Palladium Mirror is okay. I pretty much only like it if you have like a ton of 1-drop Mana Dorks, so you can accelerate it out on turn 2, otherwise it's just a little bit awkward on the mana curve. Because often in my green decks I want to be going Accelerator by turn 1 or 2 and then casting 4 drops and 5 drops a turn early, not playing a 3-drop on turn 3. But this pack is pretty bad. I could take like a Vivid Grove, I guess. Or City of Brass, Primal Command. They put Bloodwater Entity in, that's kind of interesting. Don't know if it's actually good or not. It's probably not amazing. I guess I'll take Palladium here just because there's nothing else that I really want in this pack. I like Mind Stone. Again, it's good whether you're in ramp or just in mid-range to accelerate your threats a turn early. Also of note, Overgrown Tomb's a nice speculation pick in case we get a fetch or two and want to splash black. Siege Rhino, if we can cast it, sure, otherwise meh. And yeah, I think that's another pretty easy one. Take a Polluted Delta, and if we get something such as an Overgrown Tomb later, we can play it, or like a Breeding Pool, or even like a Steam Vents or something for Chandra. What else might I consider? Maelstrom Pulse is pretty good. Do want to have some form of removal, and there's not very many ways to remove Planeswalkers in this cube, notably. But I think I'm just going to take Polluted Delta. Mana Fixing is pretty nice, and the Fetch Shocks are the best form of it. Even though it doesn't match our colors right now, I feel like we're probably going to have some use for it later. And this pack's not very exciting. Could just take like a Doomblade or a Tragic Slip or something. Destructive Force is kind of meh. It does work well with planeswalkers though. So I could take it, or I could just take a Phyrexian Revoker. But yeah, you know what? We'll try Destructive Force. A few good cards in this pack. I like Pia and Kieran. Pyromancer I don't like as much. I like Breeding Pool, especially with the polluted delta. So maybe I just want to take that. That opens me up to taking blue cards later. As much as I like Pia and Kieran, I don't know how good it is in this version of the cube. It's really good in like aggressive cubes because it kind of stops aggressive opponents in your tracks, but I know they nerfed aggro pretty hard in this cube. Still a fine card in a mid-range cube, but I think mana fixing is a little more important. There's usually enough mid-range threats to go around. Could take a cast out here over pretty much nothing that we want. Wonder that's kind of interesting. I think this card is a little underrated, especially because it has cycling, but probably don't want it in this deck at the moment. Nothing great here. Whip Flare, I guess. If red is one of our primary colors, that's a decent sideboard card. And nothing great here either. Geist of Saint Trap, pretty annoying card for our deck to answer. Doubt I'll be playing it. Guess I'll just take a Lightning Helix. If we end up in red-white colors, we could play it. You know, we haven't really seen any good green cards outside of the Birds of Paradise, so maybe we want to go in a different direction after all. Here, I guess I'll take, like, Obstructionist. I guess Bloodwater Entity. I don't know, just Obstructionist. And nothing amazing here. Murderous Redcap's playable, I guess, if we end up red. Alright, so, interesting pack. I would still like to be green. We have a good base for, you know, cheap ramp and mid-range threats and a top end, which is what I like to do. Ooh, Pianalar. It's Pia and Kieran's younger brother. Not quite as good, but still serviceable. And the fact that we cut green pretty hard means that there's a better chance it's going to be open in this pack. Ooh, this is a very strong pack. Avenger's very good. Dragonlord Silumgar is very good. Harder to cast for green, obviously, but we're starting to look like we'll have a decent amount of fixing in our deck. Harmonize is fine. Consecrated Sphinx is excellent, but we haven't taken any blue cards yet, but we do have blue lands. So I think it's just a matter of which of these three fatties I want the most. Avenger's the safest one. Well, that's not necessarily true, because once again, we don't know for sure that we're green. I think I like Silumgar the best. It's the most easily splashable if we end up in some kind of 4 or 5 color green monstrosity. And if we don't end up green, we can still play it, because it's also easily splashable if we're not green. If we're like blue-red or blue or red-black or whatever, we can just throw it in our deck. I think that logic makes sense to me. What do we have here? Flooded Strand and Radiclaw Mystic look like the two potential picks here. I like Radiclaw Mystic. It's playable even if we are not green, thanks to the morph ability. It's not spectacular. It's like on par with the Palladium Mirror in that case. I guess slightly better than the Palladium Mirror because it fixes for mana as well. So if we ended up blue-red or something, this would be a pretty nice tool. And I think I'm down with taking it here. Do want to have quite a bit of cheap fixing and ramp, and this fulfills both of those. Though I would like a Flooded Strand, especially if we're going down the multicolor, kind of greedy mana base shell, but Radiclaw Mystic helps with that a bit as well. Sphere of the Suns also helps a bit with that. Chandra Torch of Defiance is better than Pyromaster, I think. And thanks, actually I'm not sure if the new legend rule is going to apply in this cube. I know they changed those rules for Ixalan, so maybe they haven't gone into effect yet. So I don't think we can have both Pyromancer and Torch in play at the same time yet. But in the future we will be able to. Not actually sure which I want to take between the two. Chandra's clearly the better card. Sphere could be more important if we end up not getting enough cheap ramp, but I could just prioritize it. I want to make sure I have enough good threats to ramp into. Too often in these cubes I end up going too far in one direction, taking too many ramp spells, not enough, threats, or the other way around. Okay, wow, this is another pretty good pack. Thundermount Hellkite is a very nice mid-range threat we can ramp into early. Siege Gang Commander is also another good, sort of similar deal, good thing to ramp into. Stomping Ground is kind of the ideal land right now, although I guess we don't have a fetch to go get it just yet, but we can get one later, most likely. Leaning towards Siege Gang Commander, but maybe a Stomping Ground is just the safer pick. Is it reasonable to assume that one of these is going to come back? Possibly. So I think I'm okay taking this. This makes cards like, red fetches better down the line, because that lets them go get green. All sorts of different upsides. Cyclonic Rift is very strong. I think it's worth splashing. 7 mana, just bounce your opponent's entire board. Especially in a mid-rangey cube like this one. Can be a huge swing. And this pack's not very good anyway. Don't think I'd play any of these other cards. Burial Rites could be worth splashing as well, but I think Cyclonic Rift is a little more powerful. Ooh, Oathedness is in this cube now. That's kind of nice. Hallowed Fountain could be useful. We have a fetch that can go get it. We might play white, we might not. Leaning towards not right now, but you never know if we get something else powerful worth splashing. But I think I like Oathedness a little better. It's the Green Ponder. What more could you want? How do I feel about Progenitor Mimic? It's pretty inefficient, but if it sticks around, it can just take over games. Might just want to take a Braid, though. It's good efficient removal. We're a little bit lacking in that department. We are going to want some interaction in the early game. Heart of Kirin, huh? We've got a decent number of Planeswalkers, and we're probably going to get some more, or at least we're going to try to. Might be a little risky. Some of our creatures can crew it, but not all of them. In fact, the majority cannot. But I mean, what am I taking otherwise? Grim Lavamancer? Which is fine, but... Yeah, we'll see what happens. If I end up with like 4 or 5 more Planeswalkers, then we can consider it. Reflecting Pool, I suppose. Nothing else great came back out of this pack. Chain to the Rocks is interesting. It's splashable, but sort of does the same thing as Cast Out. Sword of Temptation is pretty powerful, but don't think we're going to be that deep into blue. Another Deep Fiend, probably not great for our deck. See what happens with this one, I guess. Yeah, no one's mono red, as expected. It's pretty hard to get a red aggro deck with the new changes. Don't really want any of these. Maybe Imprisoned in the Moon. Ooh, Siege Gang came back. That's pretty nice. Pretty happy with that. Once again, didn't see many green cards. Still a small possibility we can pivot into like red-blue mid-range. I'll have to keep that in mind. Got a couple decent sideboard cards towards that as well. You just cut the Birds and the Oath. Treat this as a 3-drop and try to do something like this. See if we open anything sweet in pack 3 that'll change my decision at all. If we consider that we don't have the Birds and the Oath, we're at 14 playables, plus the Sower and the Into the Royal. I mean, we can probably get up to enough playables if we decide to pivot into red-blue. Have to see if anything sways me pretty hard in pack 3. Alright. Jace, pretty nice. If we end up base blue, we could play that. Thragtusk is solid. Could take that if we're green. Kitchen Fangs as well. Sorin, a little harder to cast. We're probably planning to just dip lightly into black at the moment. Probably don't want to dip into white as well, unless things go very well for us in the fixing department this pack. I like Blood Crypt as well, because we have the Polluted Delta that kind of fixes a lot of our mana issues at the moment. It fixes both red and black, so Polluted Delta gets us every color we care about, which is pretty nice. So maybe I just want to take that. It's the safest pick. Jace is the greedier pick, but it's not a guarantee that we'll be able to play it. And even if we pivot into blue-red, we're doing alright on playables right now. And if we decide not to play green, our fixing is going to get worse, so Blood Crypt becomes more desirable. What do we have here? Lake Lane is interesting. It's pretty expensive though, but it is a pretty big game changer. Lightning Bolt's a safe pick. Once again, it'll go into whichever deck we decide to build. Blue-red or red-green X. So I'm probably just going to go with that. Continue deferring the decision. And now, I might just want to take Essence Scatter. There's no good green cards in here. Essence Scatter is a nice cheap interactive spell. We are going to need some more of those if we want to pivot into blue-red. So right now our early game is not looking too great. So let's assume that we're doing this. Take out the cast out. Prismatic Lens is interesting. Goes well again in either deck we decide to build. Frost Titan's nice. Not too worried about my late game though. I think we can cobble together some wins with whatever we end up wanting to do if we're blue-red. But Prismatic Lens is pretty nice acceleration that we won't be able to get outside of green. Drowned Catacomb as well. It's kind of nice. I think I'm just going to take the lens. Kolagon's Command. It's interesting. Mirror Battlesphere as well, both of which I like. Is there any chance we could wield the Kolagon's Command? It's a small chance. I think I like the Battlesphere. Sort of guarantees that we have the maximum good late game. Don't think I'm playing Destructive Force though. Temporal Mastery, don't think so. Could play Shelter Thicket just for the off-color cycling land. Phyrexian Arena, I'm not dipping that deep in. Not playing Temporal Mastery, so sure. This is the bad Chandra. Glenalendra's nice, Dismember's nice. Dismember's probably a little more necessary. I don't have that much good removal. Could use one more decent one, so I think I'll go with that. Although I do like Glenalendra. We've got the 4-drop slot kind of locked up at the moment. Dreadbore's nice, but so is Temple. It's actually kind of a close pick. Playable count right now is 18. We'll say 19, 20. Could use a few more playables. Our mana base is going to be a little bit awkward, but I think we need to up our playable count a little bit. Fetid Pools is nice. I'm not passing up on that. But Jace is still here. It's so good. Just might need to accept that my mana is going to be a little sketchy and take the best card possible out of every pack, just to make sure that my deck is in the best shape possible. Fork Bolt, another solid removal spell. Slaughter Pact as well, but I like the cheap interaction better. Stagger Shock we could play. It's more of a sideboard card, I think, against lots of small creatures. Bonfire, same deal. I'm not going to go up to Ulamog. Ooh, Arc Trail. I might like that better than something else, but we'll see. Alright, 23 playables. That's a good place to be. I think I'm playing the Sheltered Thicket. Again, my mana's not great, but we'll make do with what we have. Don't really want to play this Palladium Mirror either. Might want to just play another removal spell or something. Maybe the Obstructionist fills a role in our curve. Cut this. Let's figure out my fixing situation first. Polluted Delta gets me Blood Crypt. We have no use for Breeding Pool anymore, I don't believe. I mean, we could play it just for Radical Mystic on the off chance that we can fetch it and play it on turn 2. It's probably, I mean, it would just be replacing an island, so that might be worthwhile. Just occasionally we'll have to take 2 extra damage, but it's worth the upside probably. How many black sources would I need? Silumgar and Dreadbore, my only actual black spells, but both are fine in the late game as well. So Polluted Delta, Blood Crypt. If we play a single swamp, we also have the Prismatic Lens that can fix. So that's like 4. Reflecting Pool makes black later, but only when we already have a black source active. So I'm not counting it. We'll just say 4 for now. How many blue sources do I need? It's the more important question. Double blue for a couple. Some early blue spells. Start with 9, I think. Say 5, 6 island, 1 swamp, no forest. It's 12. Start here. So red, we've got 5, 6, 7, 8, which is a pretty good number. We kind of want it early, but we can live without it, or just on 1 rather. We do want double red semi-early, but I think this is a good number to start. But blue, we're looking at 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Also keep in mind that the Radical Mystic and the Prismatic Lens can pseudo act as another source of both red and blue, which is nice. So yeah, I think this is where we're going to go, where we're going to end up. Mana base is passable. Would have liked 1 or 2 more, fetchable duels or whatever, but I think for pivoting semi-late in the draft there, we ended up doing alright. And we're going to go ahead and save and go into round 1.